Today we're going to talk about the real number line, I guess as opposed to the fake number line. On the number line, or the number line is a graph of numbers, and numbers are either positive, negative, or zero. So a number line looks like this. In the middle we have our 0 point. To the right of the 0 point we have our positive numbers, and to the left of our 0 point we have our negative numbers. We can have numbers that are whole numbers, and whole numbers include 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and on, and on, and on, and on. So another way we can think of the whole numbers as the counting numbers. And if we want to graph the numbers, we just make a point on our number line, and that is the graph of number 1. This is the graph of 2. So there is a number line and our whole numbers. Graphing and comparing integers. Well, what is an integer? An integer is pretty much the whole numbers. So let's see here. I've got my number line again. I've got 0. I've got my whole numbers, which are the positive, or the numbers to the right of 0. And our integers include our whole numbers and the opposite of our whole numbers are our negative numbers. So what is an integer? An integer includes the whole numbers and their opposites. And by opposite, I mean they are the same distance from 0, but on the opposite side of the whole numbers. So our whole numbers go on and on and on in this direction. Our integers go on and on in that direction, but also they go on and on in the negative direction. How can we compare our integers? Well, if I said compare -1 and 2, you could compare them by saying -1 is less than 2, or you could say 2 is, let me erase that, greater than -1. And the numbers to going to the right are greater, and the numbers going to the left are less than. Graphing, ordering, and comparing real numbers. Well, what is a real number? A real number is basically a number that can be a fraction, or a decimal that repeats or terminates. And by terminates, I mean ends. So let's take a look at this. If I had the fraction 1 over 2, well, as a decimal, I would divide 1 by 2 and I would get 0.5. That's a rational number because this is, as a decimal, ends. If I looked at the fraction 1/3, well, if I divide 1 by 3, I get 0.333 repeating. So it goes on and on and on. So how do I graph real numbers on a number line? Same way I would graph whole numbers or integers. So if this is 1, in between 0 and 1 is 0.5. So this is the graph of 0.5. If I wanted to compare real numbers, if I said, well, what is bigger, 0.5 or 0.25? Well, 0.25 is less than 0.5. Or I could say 0.5 is greater than 0.25. One last thing that, how about no last things? That is all for this video, and I will see you tomorrow.